Thanks everyone for session 7, episode 7 of Path to Code. My name is Jitendra Jha. I'm Salesforce MVP. I have 23 Salesforce certifications. You can follow me on my Twitter, and I'm on the Salesforce ecosystem, I would say, since 2008. So I have seen the Salesforce ecosystem growing, changing, a lot of good stuff. And one of the important topic we are going to cover today is how we are going to use the VS Code. Basically, today's session is all repeat. I could have done completely going through the slide and the same example and same concept, but I thought let's use VS Code for that. So same session we can understand, we can revise our previous concept. At the same time, we will see how the VS Code can be set up in Salesforce and how it can be used. We will go a little bit on Apex classes again. We will talk today what is function overloading, what is function overriding, what is the difference between them. We will a little bit go on SQL again, test classes, DML, and error handling. So as usual, some house rules. Please mute your mic if you're not speaking. Keep adding up your questions, and Maria, everybody is watching here, and we will try to answer during the session or at the end of the session. And please don't hesitate to ask a question. I mean, none of the question is small question. It might be very important for someone else to understand. So first thing, so this is, I will say, the last slide of today's session, and everything is going to be hands-on. So first we have to install VS Code. So that's the URL, how you can install VS Code. Just go here, check your platform and download it. And once you download VS Code, you have to install a Salesforce plugin. And this is the URL for Salesforce plugin. We will go through it a little bit. So that's all the slide. Let's jump into the water. So this is the VS Code I have. And let me, is it a good font, everybody?
That works for me.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do here, so I have a simple VS Code editor open. And how do we start? And again, I'm not using Scratch or anything. It's a VS Code plus Salesforce DX. So I'm not going to confuse you what is a DX and what is a VS Code. I will just demonstrate how to work with your developer org or production or sandbox. So all you have to do is Control-Shift-P. This palette will come and you have to select SFDX, create project with manifest. So this is the important one. And once you do it, you have to give your project name, and my org name for today is Jitendra 24. So that's my org name. It is asking me where I need to save it. We'll say 1 minute, let me adjust my windows. Path to code, we will create a new folder saying G24. So now what VS Code is doing, it is just creating a new project for me. So what it did is it created a template for me. Everything is in my local. And if you see, I only have package.xml, everything is taken care by VS Code. Next step is to link our project with our developer org. Again, all we have to do is Control-Shift-P, and we have to click here, authorize and all. We have to choose this option, authorize and all. And it is asking me what is the URL. So if you have a developer org or you have a production, you have to choose this. And same for the production. If you have a sandbox, you have to choose test.salesforce.com. Now in my case, I have a developer org, so I'm going to choose this one. And I have to name my developer org because I have so many developer org authenticated already. I will say G24. That's the name I want to give. And say confirm. Now behind the scene, what Salesforce will do is it will launch a browser, and I have to log into my org. It's asking me for the connected apps permission. All I have to say is allow, and that's it. So I am logged into my org. If I come to the VS Code now, it is showing me a message saying you may now close the browser. So this is the important one. So my org has been already authenticated here. So this is my org. Next step we have to do is this package.xml which I have in front of me, we have to bring all the components back. If you see my Force app, so this is the new way of bringing the metadata. And if you see everything is empty right now, nothing is there. So all I have to do is right click here and say retrieve source from org, this option. I have to click here. Behind the scene, Salesforce is running command to bring all the metadata back to my local system. So if we see source retrieved, but there is nothing here because my org does not have any metadata. Okay, so this is a clean org. So the question someone asked, right, that how right now my metadata is only showing package.xml but not everything else. How can I fix this? Okay, so my org is the new org. That is the reason it came up empty. Okay, but let's say if you have existing org where already a lot of coding is there, everything will come up here again as a metadata, and you can see your Apex classes and everything. And maybe at the end of the session, I can pull up one of my existing org, which will show that how the metadata are going to appear here. So that's all about how to set up the initial VS Code. If you see the output panel behind the scene, VS Code is using Salesforce DX. We have not created a single, we have not executed a single line of code. Everything is behind the scene. But if you want to learn SFDX, these are the commands behind the scenes Salesforce has run. Like for the login, Salesforce executed this. To retrieve a metadata, Salesforce has executed SFDX, force colon source colon retrieve, and then it gave the user's path and name of the folder. So this is the one way to learn. Otherwise, you don't have to worry. Everything is point and click as easy. So first thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to create a sample Apex class. Give me 1 minute. So what I will do is I will right click here and I will say create an Apex class, and my Apex class name is episode 7 example 1. So my Apex class just got created. Everything is here. All I'm going to do is system.debug. Now in Salesforce, in object-oriented, the class is declared with keyword either public or private. With sharing means whoever is running this class, the default OWD will run or the default sharing will run. Class keyword, class name, and there is a concept of constructor. So the constructor is a special function which you cannot call, which compiler internally calls it or the runtime environment internally calls it. Class name and the method name is same. There is no return type. So you can say that this is constructor, and I can print something here saying I am in or here. Hello world constructor. So now if we try to search this class in our developer console or maybe in our Apex class section, there I see there are some classes here already. Let me do one more thing here. Let's see. So, okay, so I think what I have last time I did not click. So on the package.xml, right click, I'm saying retrieve source in manifest from org, because I do see my org already have existing classes. These classes should have come. Then I'm running a command here. Command means I just right click and choose that option. And if I see here, it seems a lot of things came back. And let me refresh it. Default classes, yeah, so classes are here. My episode 7 is misplaced somewhere. Yeah, so basically my class is not at the right position. Let me see how it goes. Okay, so now let's say I need to deploy this class to back to Salesforce. All I have to do is right click and I have to say deploy this source to all. So it says everything is success. So I was able to deploy this. So let's try to see if I can find this class. It's exam episode 7. I go here on E. As you can see, episode 7, I just deployed 940. Okay. Forget about the time zone. Let me see the content. So it says system debug hello world. So we just deployed our class using VS Code to the Salesforce. Let's try to see how we can execute. So in the normal world, we use execute anonymous window where we can see the log and everything. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a class, just an empty, and I'm going to say anonymous apex code. And I'm going to just save this. I can save it anywhere basically, but I'm saying let's save it at this level. And I will just say code snippet. Any extension you can give it, txt, Java, anything. I'm going to give the extension CLS so that I will get nice color and everything. So let's see how we can execute anonymous code from VS Code. Okay. So I will copy this class name and I'm saying obj equals to new class name. That's it. And let's try to execute this. So if you want to execute anonymous apex using VS Code, all you have to do is Control Shift P and click on execute anonymous apex with editor contained. So what it is doing is the current window, whatever is there, it is picking up this code and it is executing this code against Salesforce and it is bringing a log back. So let's see what is the log here. So if you see here carefully, compile, executed successfully. And if you see the debug statement, hello world constructor. So like I said, constructor is something which you don't call explicitly. Salesforce automatically calls internally, and that's what happened. So 9.3, you instantiated a class using obj, using the new keyword. Now, sometimes there is a confusion that what is the difference between class and what is the difference between object. So class is kind of the blueprint or map. So before building a house, we have to create a blueprint that how the house is going to look like. So that blueprint is a class. But this class is nothing in memory. It's just lying on the Salesforce ecosystem. The only way you can use this class, of course, there are some exceptions. So you have to use a keyword new. The time you click on the keyword new, use the variable is named as an object. So class objects, class variable name is nothing but the object. So that's all difference between class and object. And we just learned how we can execute anonymous apex. If I run the same code in Salesforce, how I have to run is I have to go to setup, developer console. I have to say Control E, and same code I'm going to execute. And once that code is executed, it is giving me exactly same output here. Hello world constructor. So if we see this, that output and this output is exactly the same. So behind the scenes, Salesforce is using same APIs. Okay, give me 1 minute. Someone is trying to write here. Okay. So I will go back on our Visual Studio Code. Now I'm going to clear the output. Now let's talk about, so that's all about the constructor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a method named public void, let's say compute discount, let's say in decimal data type, and I'm going to, let's say, pass values, maybe variable d, and all I'm going to do is system.debug, and I'm calculating a discount. So I'm saying final amount is equals to whatever the value we passed minus, now we have to apply the discount. So I will say D, and let's say I want to apply 10% discount. So 10 divided by 100, which is 0.1. So that's simple. We created one method named compute discount. Okay. So first we have to deploy this to Salesforce. Now there are plugins available on the VS Code. The time you click on the save, it would be automatically saved to the Salesforce. You don't have to right click and say deploy this source to all. So you can skip this step if you install that plugin. Everything is good. Let me clear and let me test how it is going to work. So I am going to call this method here saying obj dot compute discount, and let's say what is the 10% discount of, let's say 100.0, and I'm going to again say Control Shift P, and I'm going to say execute anonymous apex. And if we see anonymous apex again got executed, and if I scroll down here, so debug final amount 10% of $100 is 90. So that's the correct answer it is coming up. Now, even though we are starting fresh in Salesforce, one of the important things which I never ignore is this last log, where if you want to become a rockstar developer and hopefully in the future, let's say you become a technical architect, this is the section you cannot ignore. Unlike Java, .NET, where you can write any way code you want to do, you cannot do in Salesforce. You have to be a good programmer. And there is a concept of governor limit. So for an example, how many SQL you can execute, how many rows you can get from database, how many DML statements you can do, how much CPU time it has used. So everything is counted against here. So right now we are all set, we are not doing anything, all 000, but the time it starts spiking up, you have to be careful that there is something wrong in your code or some design pattern is not good. So this is your friend. Make sure you're not ignoring this section, limit section in your debug logs. So I will clear the output. I will go back on my existing class. Now what I'm going to do, there are some customer where they want 10% discount, but at the same time, there might be some customer, right? They said, I want a capability for the custom discount. So I would provide you the amount, and I will also going to provide you the discount, how much discount I need. Now, instead of 0.1, it would be like this. If you observe what I just did is both method has same name, but both method has a different number of parameter. So depending on the parameter, Salesforce will identify that you're calling this method or you're calling this method, and I will say final, I will say overload amount. So this concept where in a same class you have two method or two function, they have same name but different parameter type or parameter count, is known as function overloading. So that's pretty famous concept in programming world, that whenever they are saying the word function overloading, they are talking about this situation. Okay, so how the Salesforce will know which method to call? Very simple, on the basis of parameter. So in this scenario, so I have provided only one parameter, Salesforce know what to call. Second, let's say I want to apply 20% discount, all I have to say is 0.2. Now Salesforce is smart enough to know that I have to call the method 1 or I have to call a method 2. So that's the function overloading. So let me save it. Again, SFDX, right click, deploy this source to org. It's successfully run. Now I have to go to code snippet. Let me clear the command here. Control Shift P, and this file I'm saying execute anonymous apex, whatever in this file. Let's see what is the output. So if you see hello world constructor called, so this debug you have to remember where are these debugs. Then it says final amount 90, so that's of course method 1 because 10% discount applied. Second, final overload amount, which is 80. So that's the concept of function overloading. So next, talk about function overriding. So function overriding normally happens in inheritance in the child class. So what I will do is I will create one new Apex class. I will say new Apex class, and I will name that Apex class as child. C capital. Now what I'm going to say in this class is this class extends the parent class, which is episode 7 example, and I'm going to say here I'm going to create exactly same method here, but the only difference is I'm going to give 30% discount. Now I'm writing exactly same method, so I have to say public override. Okay, sorry, public virtual. So I have to mark a method as a virtual if I'm going to change this method in the child class, and I am going to deploy this. Meanwhile, I will come here and I will say this method is nothing but override. Let's see, all commands successfully executed. Yes. So now I want to deploy this class to Salesforce. I'm going to say run, deploy this source to all. Let's see. So now it say it failed to run. So basically it failed because I have to mark my original class as virtual. I have marked my method as a virtual, saying that this method is going to be changed in the child class, but the parent class also needs to be marked as virtual. So now let me deploy this again. Okay, successfully run. Clear it. I'm going on the child and I'm saying now try to deploy this. So this time it ran successfully. So again, the concept here is if you have exactly same method name, same parameter, then it is called as function overriding. If you have a same method name, different parameter name, then it's known as a function overloading. So as simple as, now how we are going to call this is something like this. So now I'm going to say in my code snippet is create an object for child and I'm saying obj dot, I'm going to say same compute here. I am going to comment this code because now I don't need this code anymore. I'm only going to focus on this one. Now the only change is I will know it is working if I will say the discount I am getting is 0.30% as a final amount in child. Again, let's deploy this. I'm back here in my code snippet section. It's a Control Shift P, execute an anonymous window. And successfully ran. If I go back here and if I try to see where is debug statement, here final amount in child 70. So now we know that Salesforce is able to identify. So here is the thing. Now very important concept. What that line means is this child is already example 1. This child is already parent. On the top of that, we are adding some extra method. So for an example, I'm adding one method name as public return type string. I will say echo, whatever the message I'm sending here. So I'm saying MSG. All I'm saying is return. MSG is string and Salesforce has inbuilt method name as to uppercase. That's it. So what this method is doing is you pass any string to this method that Salesforce will convert it to the uppercase and it will return. So try to understand, and very important concept here. Okay. What I'm saying here is this child class is parent class plus these two extra method. That means I can also say that this object, even though I'm instantiating it by child, but this is also example 1. Very important concept. Think about it, what I just did. Okay. You cannot do like this. Okay. You cannot say that child is parent because child has 2 extra method. Parent does not have 2 extra methods. So this statement is invalid statement. Okay. But parent has, so child has every method what was in parent plus 2 extra method, and this concept is one of the important example of polymorphism. So polymorphism means on the runtime you can change their type. So even if you execute this, it will behave same because behind the scene, even though you are saying it's example 1, Salesforce knows that this object is actually instantiated using this. Okay. So take a pause and think about what I just said on the line number 9. So every parent is child because child has extra methods plus parent because it is extending parent or base class. And that concept is known as polymorphism. So, give me 1 minute. So we talk about function overloading. We talk about function overriding. Now, every class in Salesforce. So for an example, if I go example 1, every class in Salesforce by default do something like this. By default, every object, every class in Salesforce is child of object. So you don't have to write this every time. Salesforce takes care of this, but the object has few important methods. And one of the important method what an object has is, let me show you here. obj.toString is one of the method. Then obj.hashCode is one of the method, and you don't need to know about these methods. These are a little bit advanced, but just understand that every method, even so, here is the thing: we have not written toString in obj here. Okay, so let me go back here. If I go on this class, episode 7 example 1, there is nowhere toString which I have written. Okay, so technically it should give me an error saying that, hey, you don't have toString method in, declared, you don't have any hashcode method declared. Let's try to execute this, if it is going to execute or not. Okay, so I'm going to say Control-Shift-P, execute anonymous apex. As you can see, it successfully executed. Okay, even though it will not give you a proper output. Okay, it just gave hello world constructor, nothing. But the thing is, your code is not failing. That means our code is able to understand that there is toString method somewhere, there is hashcode method somewhere, and in fact you can override these methods. Okay, so this is pretty important concept in any object-oriented programming, including Apex. Okay, so that is important to know that every class in Salesforce extends object by default. Now there is always a confusion between object and S-object. So object, we all agree that whenever you create a custom type using Apex, you have an object. Now every standard object or custom object, I'm talking about the database level. So here, so every account, contact, cases, or the custom object which I will create, those are S-object. So don't get confused between object and S-object. Those are the simplest definition of object and S-object. Okay. Now, I'm going to go a little bit advanced again. We already have covered, but let me cover again here. DML. Now there are multiple. DML means saving some data in Salesforce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a contact, one contact, saying new contact. Now this new keyword, so this contact is basically S-object. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Anything at the database level and anything which you are creating as an Apex class is an object. So I'm going to go back, contact C1 contact, and I'm going to initialize it saying C1 dot last name equals to, let's say, my name, Cha. Okay, and I need to insert this into the system, so I will say insert C1. But then let's say I also have to insert another contact. So let's say I have to insert C2, and C2 last name, let's say, is John Doe. That's it. And in fact, you can say first name also. So I will say C2 dot first name equals to, I will say John 2. Maybe I already have John Doe in my system. So I'm inserting contact. I'm inserting contact 2. Let's execute this. So Control-Shift-P again. Execute anonymous apex It is going to execute. Successfully executed, it inserted the record. Okay, let's go back here in my OR, try to search. So let's see if contact came. No. Let me see the logs, if it is success or not. Some duplicate will be not executed. First name is wrong. Some duplicate should be. Okay. Perfect. So I think global search is not working properly. So you see, I created Jan and I created John Trudeau. These two records I created just now. The important part, like I said, in Salesforce, you have to be very careful what you're writing. To insert to record, we used insert C1 and we used insert C2, which is known as anti-pattern. You should not do it. If you see this line, we are allowed to use insert, update, delete word only 150 times in one transaction. And we unnecessarily already used 2. What if I need to insert 10 contact? I'm not going to say insert 10 times because that would be the problem. I'm not following the best practice. So what is the best way to insert the multiple record using single insert statement? So all we have to do is, there is a data type name as list, and you have to say what list that is. So angle bracket, this is known as angle bracket, will help to give us an error at compile time. So our list is contact because we are going to store contact. So that's what we have to do. Salesforce will know that this lst-con is going to have a contact in it. What if I do something like this, account, and if I do something like this, account, and I'm not inserting account, compiler will know that I'm doing something wrong. So that this is very important. This is our friend, that in the angle bracket, all you have to say, this is list of what? So this is list of contact. This is the syntax we have to follow. Now all we have to do is, in the list of contact, there is a method named as add. Okay, and you can find all these methods online. So if you say Salesforce list methods, if you search something like this, you will get the list class here on Salesforce documentation, and you can see all the list methods. And as you can see, these are all, we are using this method. Example, they have a list of integer, they're going to add, exactly same we are doing here. So I'm saying in the list, I'm adding C1. I don't need to insert here, okay? And in the list here also, I'm inserting C2. So I'm not doing any database or anything, and so on. I can 100, 200, anything. If I want to insert, all I have to say is insert C. All I have to say, insert list, this one. That's it. So let me clear my output. Okay. Now this time I'm going to insert jar 2 and John 3. So Control Shift P again, random suffix. Let's go back on my org. I'm going to refresh this. As you can see, John 3 came, jar 2 came. The best part is I did a best practice. If you, like I said, this is our friend. Don't ignore this statement. So previously, it was showing DML statement as 2. Now it is showing DML statement as a 1. So this is the best part. Another part is here only you will remember some of the limits. So for an example, Salesforce is saying you can only insert 10,000 record at a time. Okay, so let's try to insert more than 10,000 record and let's see what happens. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a for loop integer I equals to, let's say, 0. I want this for loop to run, let's say, 20,000 times. And every time, let's say, I'm doing something like this. Every time I'm creating a contact, every time I'm adding a contact here, okay? And after that, let's say I'm going to insert contact. So 20,000 contact here and 2 more contact at the top. Let's see how the Salesforce is going to react. And it is going to be interesting. Like I said, this is our friend. Keep eyes here. It will tell you what is the limit. So let's see how things works. I know it is going to fail, but at least we will know that how the logs and how the governor limit shows. So it is trying to insert 20,000 to record. So if you see, it failed because there are too many DML rows. Limit is 10,000 and you already crossed one bit. So it is not going to process whole 20,000. After 10,000 itself, it will tell you the error. So this is the what we have to be careful about the governor limit. Okay. So I will remove this. Now one thing again I need to show here is, let's assume something like this is happening. So I have 2 contacts with me and I want to insert John 4. Okay. And let's say there are some validation rules, some requirements, some trigger, and I'm not going, let's say I would not be able to insert C1. Of course, in our case, we already know that C1 does not have a last name. Okay. If I try to do this, where one record is valid, one record is not valid, and I'm trying to use an insert because I'm going to use a list, which is a best practice. So Control-Shift-P. So if you see, it failed. It says required field is missing, and therefore none of the record got executed. Even John 4 is not inserted. So let's validate that. I'm on my arc. John 1, 2, 3, everything is about John 4 is not there. What if we want partial commit? So we want C1 to fail, but we want C2 to succeed. So if that is the requirement, so instead of insert, we have to use database dot insert. We have to pass the parameter, and the second parameter is all or none. So all or none is the previous behavior. When we say insert list, so line number 23 is saying either you insert all or insert none. We don't want all and none. We want to insert partially. So I'm saying it's false. Now let's try to execute it. Okay. So I am going to Control-Shift-P again, execute NMSFX, compile, executed, fine. Let me go back in my org, refresh it. Now I have John 4. So now this database statement, the question is, how do I know what failed? Of course, you need to handle that scenario, and that was already covered, I guess, by Amit. Amit took that session. So to be very quick, if you want to know what is the error, all you have to do is something like this. Capture the result in the save result array. Okay, I have a ready-made code snippet available. All I will do is just paste it here, and this was already covered in the previous session. So all I'm doing is iterate from result. If it's success, show the success record ID. If it fails, we get a database.error, and we can print that what is the error. So let's try to execute this now, because in the previous statement, we will not get any feedback. What happened? It's silent error. And of course, silent error is also not good practice. You need to do something if some error occurred and some anomaly happening on your code. So now this time I'm saying John 5. Okay. So let's say Control Shift P, again execute anonymous. I got all my error, so I'm expecting my error to be printed here somewhere on my debug log. So if I see here, it says required fields. Okay, not there here. So required field is missing. Required fields last name. So we are able to take the debug log, and now it's up to us how do we want to handle it. Of course, in the real production, you are not going to use a system.debug. Okay? You will always either insert in the database, create a report, insert in some custom object, something you have to do, send an email. So the last of today's session is actually, yeah. So I'm not going to cover the test classes because we are short on time, but I do want to cover how can you execute SOQL in Salesforce from VSCode. So all you have to do is Control Shift P, and let's see. If I say SFDX SOQL, so I'm saying execute SOQL query, and I'm saying okay, select ID comma name from account and enter. It is asking you SQL can be executed by REST API or tooling API. Really doesn't matter to us. We can simply go with the default option. And we can see that select ID comma name. These are the accounts returned. I think around how many? Let's see. 1002 records. Okay. Same way in SQL, we can get contact. So the question is how can you run query on account? So Control Shift T again, select query, and I'm saying select ID comma name from account. Also get ID comma name from contacts. So if you observe, I have written a word contacts, not contact, and I will show you how do I know. So I am querying on parent, and I am also getting the child. Contact is the child of account. Again, REST API. Okay. It is saying fail. Let me see. So what query I run is select ID comma name. Okay, I missed. My query is not right here. Okay, it's fine. Control Shift P again. Execute SQL query. I missed here. Select. I have to select here as well. So now you see contacts ID, contact name is coming here. If I scroll down a little bit, so Jen Day and John Doe, those are all coming up. Why the other contacts are not coming up? Because accounts are not associated with those contacts, because we only set the last name. So the question is, like I said, in this case, how do I know that I have to use a word contacts, not contact? So there is a very simple trick. We are writing query on account. So all you have to do is go on the child record. So child record is an object, contact. So what I will do is I will go in setup, go in object manager, go on contact, try to search where the parent field here is. So parent field is here, account ID. I go here, and here if you see the child relationship name, so this is the place where I know that what I have to use. So in a standard object, it is pretty simple. For the custom object, you have to append underscore underscore R here. Okay. And so this is the way you write a query on the parent record and get the child. So this concept is known as the subquery. You can also do something like this. If I want to write a query on child, so I say select ID comma name from contact. Now I know that I have to get some information from the parent of contact. So the parent of the contact is account. So all you have to say account dot name. So accessing parent from the child is pretty easy, straightforward. You don't have to write any inner query. Control Shift P, execute a SQL query. This is the SQL query. So if you see here, it got executed, it got all the contact, and it also got all the accounts dot name. Okay. So I will save some time to go through the Q&A. I know it's a lot to digest, but we are going to publish this video. The agenda for today was just to show you how powerful VSCode has become. You can do, I mean, it's a very rare that I have to log into the Salesforce to do my development work. Everything I can do in my developer or VSCode console. And there are so many plugins. I will see if I get time and I can show you that how to get the metadata in Excel sheet using the VSCode itself. So I will go on questions one by one. So shortcut, Control Shift, Command Shift P is same. So in Mac, it's Command Shift P, and in Window, it will become Control Shift P. Okay. Then correct. So the question from exactly. So basically, what I did, right? When you authorize an org, you give the name to the org authorization. So basically, if you see, right, my folder name is Jitendra24. This can be anything, right? But I give this org as JIT24, and I don't want to confuse all of you, but this is, let me show you how many org I have in my system. So DX, you don't have to remember this. You can run this command somewhere else as well. In fact, you can run command here, list all aliases. If you click here, Salesforce is going to internally run the same command. So if you see, right, this is all the org I have. GH28, my Trailhead Playground 1, pre-release and those stuff. D means default dev hub. Advanced topic, ignore this. But in today's session, I said I'm going to use GH24, and this is my default org for today, and it is denoted by U. So now, because of so many org I have, I can work so many org at the same time. So that is the reason, instead of saying this is my username, all I have to give is just the number of my org. Perfect. So the question is why the constructor needs to have the same name. So like I said, I can execute compute discount. I can call compute discount anytime, because this is a normal method, normal return type, normal parameter, right? Constructor is something only executed once in the whole life cycle. You cannot call it explicitly. And in order for compiler to know or make a difference between a normal method and constructor, there is very simple, two simple rules. So rule number one, no return type. Rule number two, its name should be same as a class name. So this is the two rule you have to follow. And again, you don't have to write it. Simply ignore it. Still the program will execute. So does the VS Code allow you to push bad code to your org? No, Michael. So for an example, right? This is the bad code. Okay. Let me try to push this code. Right click, deploy this source to org. It should fail. So it failed and it will give you an error why it failed. Detail error. So I will return here. Yeah, some exceptions. So there is a difference between exception and error. So there is some error which is a compile time. There is some error during the runtime. The more your compiler is powerful, the more you get an error while writing the code is the best thing that can happen to you. So for an example, this line number 15, this is really very important. If something like this happens, right? Let's assume Salesforce allows, let's say, assume like this, okay? And now the compiler don't know that what the list going to contain. It can contain contact, account, or anything. Your compiler will pass through, but during the runtime, it will fail. So the more error you get while writing the code, it's better for your product. Okay. Aren't Apex and Java for all intents and purposes? So behind the scene, Salesforce platform is the Java. Okay. So Apex programming language is written on the top of wrapper. Again, I don't have any proof, but that's what I heard from the internal team. Okay. It's a Spring application. I'm not sure. So yeah, the what is the syntax and the concept of Java in Apex is similar. Of course, Java is more advanced. Java supports a lot of things which even today Apex doesn't support. I see, and Adrian already answered that. Thank you so much. So Excel sheet, I will show you in the next 2 minutes how to get that. Question is, do you recommend some ID like Welkin Suite? So it depends, right? Few of my friends still use Illuminated Cloud. If you love Welkin Suite, go ahead, right? Personally, I use multiple IDE. VS Code is one of them. It does the job. That's all I can say. It is doing my job. Okay. So let me show you one Excel sheet. Okay, before everybody goes away, how can I export my metadata in Excel sheet? Okay, so control 1 minute. This is going to be interesting. Hopefully, I remember where it is. Okay. So okay, it is not here. Okay, what I will do is I will post it. So basically, how the things are going to work is show me. I can show you an output if I have. I don't have an output on my system. Maybe in the next session, 5 minutes, I just need to search my code. So basically, there is a Salesforce DX plugin I have created, okay, as a part of my Dreamforce. Just using one command, you can export all your object metadata using VS Code. Okay, I will show you maybe in the next session sometime. Okay, so team, unmute your mic if you have anything I would like to hear. I will try one more attempt for that Excel sheet. If I see I have my code somewhere here ready that I can show you quickly.
Can you retrieve metadata in a way that's compatible so you can also use the Salesforce jar to deploy it using Ant so it doesn't get the extension profile dash meta.xml.
Sweet. Perfect. Yeah, I can do that. I can do it now. So let me close this. So in this case, right here, manifest. If you see what just happened in today's session, let me close everything. Close all. So let me explain the question, team, everybody. Right now, what we did today on G24, I have all these classes. So all these classes, so there are two ways of packaging. One is the old way, which is a package.xml way. And this is the new way where Salesforce is organizing internally everything within main, default, and their classes, component, right? But we might have already existing code in place, existing continuous integration, Jenkins, which is completely relying on package.xml. How can I convert this code to package.xml format so that I can deploy it and do whatever I want to do using AND tool? Correct? So that's the question. So again, I don't want to publicize my blog, but this is something I normally, so my blog is my work log. I write a lot of things on my blog which I know that I am going to need. Okay, so I have that ready-made blog and I will execute just in front of you. So this blog, right, using Salesforce with non-scratch org. Okay. Here I have a solution. Okay, I have to run this command, and I will run this command one by one. Okay, so I will copy this and let's see how the things are going to work. All you have to do, just go on my blog, copy those commands, because even I don't remember those commands. And normally I create a batch script. Okay. So non-scratch org means our normal org, developer org.
Okay, so basically run it from the shell. Don't run it from the command line. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
So I am going to run it from terminal. So all you have to do is
Okay.
yeah, just go here, copy this code, and it will work. Okay. And
okay, thanks.
Yeah. And what I have done in my case, right? You have to run 4 or 5 commands. All I did is simply created one file named as a metadata dot command. Everything is there. All you have to do is just double click on that file or use the bash script and that's it, done. You are going to convert your new source format to the old source format in this folder, manifest folder. Okay.
Yeah, I have a bash script I can run on the bash.
Exactly.
Okay, but I just, all right, so they're fundamentally though incompatible, like you can't, okay.
Yeah, we can. That's what I'm doing. So what I have done in my project, right? I ask everybody to start using SF. So today's session is actually VSCode plus SFDX. We used a lot of SFDX concept without even knowing you guys that it's SFDX, just to avoid the confusion. So every project we have started using SFDX, any existing continuous integration using Jenkins or Circle CI, we are using this script to help it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question?
So the one in your lower down on your blog then is what you use to deploy the metadata that you've altered within VSCode?
No, so what I do, right? So there is a GitHub. We have a GitHub. So I commit my code in that branch. This metadata is on GitHub, and I think we might have one session on the GitHub in this 25
Okay, and then Jenkins pushes it?
Correct. Jenkins
got it.
Yeah, exactly. Jenkins read this file and Jenkins just execute this command and everything is taken care. Okay. So thank you everyone. We are going to post this video on our YouTube channel. Of course, there is no slide today. The only slide I think left is these are the 3 Trailhead modules I would suggest you finish. And we will wait for the next session. Next session is about, so we are going to start integration from the next session onwards. Slowly we will go on lightning. Also, we'll try our best to go on slow, but again, if you think anytime that we are going fast and we need same learning checkpoint again to go through some of the basics, please let us know your feedback. Okay. Thank you so much everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah, good night, everybody.